Hey guys, it's Ashley here of Oaxaca City, and I am so excited to be with you guys. I am here in Center City in Washington, D.C. I'm not sure if you can see some background, but this place is bougie. Neither here nor there, y'all. Of course, before we get started, I want to encourage you guys to like and comment and all that fun stuff. Subscribe and let a hoe know how I'm doing and what else you guys want to hear from Oaxaca City. So guys, today is going to be a little bit different because I want to share with you guys ways to plan a trip last minute vacation planning, particularly if you're already going somewhere. So I just got back from Mexico, sad. My partner and I, during that time, originally had plans to go to Mexico City and then go to the Cancun Playa Riviera area to relax and chill. But all the locals told us that the hot spot is apparently this beautiful city called Oaxaca in the state of Oaxaca in Mexico. So we were like, well, why not? So we ended up spending 4 days and 3 nights in Oaxaca City, which is the capital of the state of Oaxaca. So if that makes any sense, guys, it's kind of like, well, never mind, because the capital of New York is in New York City. But neither here nor there. We were in Oaxaca. It was gorgeous. Lots of mountains, the best food ever. We did a food tour. We did a mezcal tasting. We did lots of walking. We did shopping. It was everything the locals in Mexico City told us about. But we would not have gone there, A, if no one told us about it, and B, if we weren't flexible in our plans. So I really want to share with you guys ways to do that while still saving money. Because again, guys, trips do not have to be super expensive if you don't want them to be. I actually have a video that I will link somewhere here on ways to save money when you are traveling. So guys, the first tip, and probably the most important one, is that your travel plans have to be malleable. They have to be relatively flexible. Now, I'm not telling you necessarily to go from like first class to premium. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that there has to be some wiggle room in whatever travel plans you have. So if you plan on spending some time, a week, for example, in Paris or in New York City or in Seattle, and you want to do a day trip somewhere, you want to make sure that your plans are flexible. So you don't want to have travel plans that are lock and key. So I do recommend, if you have an inkling that your trip is going to be somewhat flexible, you may want to veer off of what you plan to do, is that you get instead of getting a basic economy flight, you get the refundable flights or flights that allow a lot of change fees. So I actually had to pay change fees because we had to take Volaris, which is Mexico's main airline, but it wasn't that expensive to do, but I did have to switch it because the flights there were already relatively inexpensive. I think it was like $80 one way to get to Oaxaca from Mexico, which is like an hour or like a 2-hour flight, for example. But I would recommend upgrading to a regular economy flight instead of basic economy. Believe it or not, that will save you if you have to do some changes, and usually flights are pretty good about that, especially now that we're in COVID life, and they're more flexible about changing your flight, canceling your flight than they were in the past. So definitely recommend that you make some flexible flight plans. Another tip that I have if you want to save money while traveling last minute is to make sure that the plans you have are relatively flexible, relatively malleable. I highly recommend having a plan. And if you want me to talk about how I plan my trips, how I plan my budgets, how I plan my money, please let me know in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to share with you all the tricks and tips that I have. But I do plan all my trips. So the way I do it, I do book my flights, and I do book my Airbnbs, and I do book an itinerary of what I like to do day by day. But I do allow a little bit of wiggle room for hour or two for a day, or the museum, it can be this one day, but I'm not pressed for it. Something like that. That way, if an opportunity comes up, you don't have to cancel or waste money or anything like that. So we were able, because we didn't have too many things locked, especially when talking about Cancun and Playa del Carmen, that area, it was very easy just to change, because really all I had to do was change our flight, and the Airbnb was very, very, very gracious about canceling. So I didn't end up spending money lost because of that. So making sure that your itinerary has girth, has things to do, but not 100% of your items should be set in stone. to the point where you're gonna miss out on an opportunity to take a day trip somewhere, or to do an extra flight somewhere, or take a train somewhere, or maybe it's a cool attraction. Because I find that the people there in the city that you're in, or even the expats there, they have a lot of information that you just don't know, that no guide can share with you about when it comes to learning about the city. So highly recommend doing as much of that as possible. And the last tip I have, guys, when it comes to planning your trip, is you still have to plan it. So a lot of people think that just because my trip was last minute, that I wasn't necessarily, it was somewhat rushed or hurried, and that wasn't the case at all. Before I even went, I did do a budget, a plan of what we wanted to do, how to make our time there valuable, some of the can't miss places, can't miss stops. So I was able to create a loose itinerary from there. I did a budget. I'm like, oh, it's actually not too expensive. So that's what made me decide to go forth with it. So you want to make sure that nothing is done 100% on a whim. It has to be planned as well, just so you can maximize your time. Because generally speaking, if you're doing a last minute trip, you may not know what you want to do. So for us, the first day we spent a lot of exploring, walking around, just getting a feel, eating at a local restaurant. The second day we did a tasting tour, we cooked, did a cooking class. The third day we did a mezcal tour. And the fourth day we did some more walking, saying goodbye, buying some extra souvenirs, and then heading out to Cancun, Playa del Carmen area. So you want to make sure that you're still planning what you want to do and having something set in stone if you're going to do it. So guys, I really do believe that at the end of the day, making sure that your plans are loose enough where they can be flexible and change, but set in stone enough where you're not landing somewhere and you're like, I have no idea what to do. It's really important that you make sure that the infrastructure of your plans are going to be very well created. So having the flight be changeable, the hotel cancelable, keeping it moving, all that fun stuff. And it's also important that you have a plan within a plan. So you just can't be going out here for funsies thinking that you're good to go. You got to make sure that you have an idea of what you're going to do if you're there, and if it's even worth you expending the extra money, because you're going to be probably spending a little bit extra money to do that. So guys, I hope this was helpful. Of course, rate, comment, subscribe. Let me know what y'all want to hear. I can't wait to hear from you guys again. It is like, y'all, it's such a privilege to be able to do this for you guys, talk to you guys. I listen to everything that y'all say. I look at your comments. I hear your DMs. Y'all are fabulous. If you guys want to hear more, I'm going to put all my information in the bio, which I don't think I've done before, including my newsletter. Every week I talk about money-saving tips and things that's going on in my life and all that fun stuff. So I can't wait. Y'all are amazing and fabulous. We'll talk soon. Bye, y'all.